This is the In Focus podcast from The Hindu.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the In Focus podcast. I'm your host G. Sampath. Last July, a whistleblower in Kenya posted on social media that the country's main international airport would be taken over by India's Adani group. Their news sparked widespread outrage in Kenya. It has since emerged that the Kenya Airport Authority, which runs the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, has signed a $2.5 billion build and operate deal with the Adani group. Under the agreement, the Adanis would renovate the airport and add a new runway and terminal, and in exchange, they would manage the airport for 30 years, after which they would get an 18% equity stake in it. Hundreds of airport workers have protested against the deal, causing flight cancellations and leaving passengers stranded. Meanwhile, the Law Society of Kenya, the country's bar association, and the Kenya Human Rights Commission have filed a joint application against the deal in the High Court. The court on Monday issued an order suspending any action on the Adani proposal until the court case is settled. So why are Kenyans upset with this airport renovation project? Did the deal follow due process in terms of transparency and bidding procedures? What are the demands of the Kenya Airport Workers Union who have threatened a massive strike? Not many in India have a clear picture of this controversy, and to give us the full Kenyan perspective, we are joined by a distinguished guest, Senator Richard Onyonka, who represents Kisii County in the Kenyan Parliament. Senator, thank you so much for your time and welcome to In Focus of the Hindu.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for engaging us. Thank you.
Sir, to start with, I was wondering if you can give us a quick overview of what this build and operate agreement between the Adani Group and Kenya Airport Authority entails. Is it not beneficial to Kenya given that the government has repeatedly said it cannot raise the funds on its own?
Thank you very much. I will be very, very fast so that I don't take a lot of your time. The Adani deal apparently in Kenya started I would go back to about the year 2022. I did not know about it, and many of the politicians, or indeed many Kenyans, did not know that Adani wanted to participate in this PPP agreement. What then happened is that somebody, a very young Kenyan who works in France, saw some agreement passing through his office. And he called me and said, Senator, there is a matter that I've seen that is being negotiated here, where a company from India called Adani, blah, 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 has engaged the Kenyan government, where there are discussions taking place as to how Adani will come in, take over the airport, run it for 30 years. The figures that they're quoting look abnormal because they're very little. And then he went on further to say that in the agreement, Adani would get a tax break for 10 years. Adani would fire all the employees who work for the Kenya Airports Authority right now and then rehire them on different terms. Of course, which then as a senator, I believed that they were going to basically frustrate and violate the rights of these workers. And there are about 5,000. And the question that came up was, why are the Adani team not using due diligence? Because we have a PPP Act, there's a law which allows for the government to advertise, ask for 3-4 different companies to come on board so that then Kenyans can interrogate who can provide the best service and who can give us a cheaper value for money arrangement. And lo and behold, when I then turned this matter, and coincidentally, by the way, today is when the cabinet secretary came to our committee to come and discuss this matter, and apparently he didn't show up with any documentation. So he has been chased away by the committee chair and the members of the Senate for him to provide documents tomorrow where he can tell us what the veracity and the truth of the agreement is all about. What we believe, this is a corrupt deal. We believe money has already exchanged hands between government officers and Adani. We believe that Adani is negotiating for a deal that is out of this world. They are going to take over all the airports in Kenya. They are going to be given for 10 years tax-free. They will be paying no taxes to the Kenyan government. They argue that they're bringing in $2 billion to come and do the airport. We believe that that airport itself right now is able to make about between 6 and 15 billion Kenyan shillings, which is about $150 million per year. And we believe that we can use that equity, which the airport itself is making money on, so that then we can negotiate for somebody to come and do a professional job by coming and building the airport. Number two, we are saying many African countries are doing what this agreement is. The Rwandese have gone to the Qataris. They have negotiated with the Qataris where they are getting a brand new airport, which will handle between 4 and 6 million tourists with everything. They have agreed to provide Rwanda Air, which is an airline by the Rwandese people, 40 aeroplanes. How can we negotiate with Adani to give us 2 billion? And that is the end of the story. We've not received any airplanes from anywhere from Adani. We don't know how much money that Adani is going to use for the construction of the airport. And the last point I wanted to make is that we have information that there was no due diligence done because Adani has such a despicable record and history, whether it's in Australia, whether it is Thailand, whether it is in the US. There are so many stories coming up on what illegalities that Adani has committed. And that is the reason why Kenyans are saying they don't want the deal, because it smacks of corruption and a lot of high money exchanging hands. And many of us have decided to fight this all the way to the International Court of Justice if there's a need for that.
Right. Thank you for sharing your concerns, Senator. I mean, you have made a lot of serious allegations when you say that money may have changed hands, there is corruption, etc., etc. I mean, we don't have any kind of evidence for that in the public domain as yet. But then you have also petitioned the Senate Committee on Roads and Transport to explain how the deal was signed. Can you please explain if there has been a response to your petition?
By the time you were calling me to get on air, in fact, on air, I was in that committee. And what has happened is the cabinet secretary has come and he didn't have any documents. And he asked to be given time so that he can produce the documents tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock. Which we agreed to do. Number two, I wanted to just help you so that we can educate your listeners. In Africa or indeed anywhere else in the world, when money has exchanged hands, you notice that the people who are bringing the deal, you will never know who they are. The agreement will never be tabled in Parliament or the National Assembly the way the law says. Nobody in government is going to take responsibility to tell you what is being done or not done. The Adani people are already at the airport. And what are they doing? They're already looking and taking feasibility studies. Why would you assume, me sitting in the Senate, anybody would assume that I would have to be so stupid to make such an allegation? We believe that money has exchanged hands. We believe that this is a stupid deal. This is a deal that we are going not to accept in our republic. We believe that Adani could have come, done this deal above the water, agree on what they're going to do for the Kenyan government, make sure that all the stakeholders are involved, and then make sure they engage the government properly according to the law. None of that has been followed.
Right. I mean, you are saying basically there has been no involvement of the parliament in this entire process. And the government has said that it has gone with a privately initiated proposal, or PIP, with Adani Airport Holdings. Are such PIP-based projects common in Kenya, or is that a departure from the usual process of tendering, etc.?
No, this is the first activity. This is the first PPP that will be done because we changed the law about 2 years ago. We didn't have a legal framework on how you allow private-public partnership with the government. This is the first time that this law is now being implemented. In fact, Adani is going to be one of the biggest deals that is being done under this. What we are saying, that law, and I hope I'll be able to pick it and send it to you, it specifically says what to do. You must follow the public procurement process. You must have more than one company, which is we look at, for example, you can't tell me that India doesn't have 3-4 different companies that could have come and we would have discussed with them so that we pick the best that is offering the best for us. Where did Adani come from, which is only one company, which nobody knows as we speak what their responsibilities are. Nobody knows what the legal framework they're using, what the taxes are going to be, what they have done in terms of the feasibility study. If you look at the structure of the Kenyan airports, it's valued at about, on average, close to 1 trillion Kenyan shillings. 1 trillion Kenyan shillings means the value of all the airports in the Republic of Kenya is going to be about between 5 and 10 billion US dollars. How do you take such an asset and hand it over to a company that is going to give you only 2 billion? Then for the next 30 years, it is going to pick out premium quality. They are going to earn their equity is going to increase. And in that agreement, then you have the audacity to say that once Adani gets out of managing the airport's infrastructure within the Republic of Kenya, then they will have a permanent clause, an eternal clause, which allows Adani to own the airport system in Kenya for the next 30 years. And after that, it will be perpetual. How can you sign an agreement like that?
So the understanding here is that the agreement is only for one airport, Nairobi, the Jomo Kenyatta airport. But are you saying that the agreement is for all the airports in Kenya?
They were so clever. They said, yes, they will start with the Nairobi International Airport. But there is on the little detail where they say we will, nobody, not even the national government, not even the county government where we come from, that have got those national airports, those regional airports, can either fix them, change them, ask people to pay taxes. Can you imagine that we have agreed that it's Adani which will be telling the Kenyan government which taxes Kenyans can pay for receiving the services from Adani? How can you sign such an agreement?
Right. So there are 16 top Kenyan officials, government officials, who are visiting India this week in connection with this airport deal. Can you share what are the expectations from this visit? How this visit is viewed in Kenya? Like, what is this about?
When are they supposed to be there?
This Tuesday they were supposed to come to India, for this, to discuss this Adani deal.
Thank you. Tell them that whatever they sign and whatever they put, and tell the Indian government and anybody who would care to listen, due diligence has not been followed. Any transaction that anybody is going to put their finger on it, we are aware on what's going on. We are aware that our leaders come there, people from the ministry, money is looked for, they are taken to some of the hotels, they are given kickbacks. We know all that stuff. You've seen these things from Africa. That is what is happening. What are they going to discuss with Adani? The airport is here. Why are they coming to India? What are they coming to discuss in India? The airport is here. The stakeholders are here. The people are here. What are they coming to discuss in India? Why are they? Let me ask you, why are the Adani officials, all the company corporates of Adani, refusing to come to Nairobi? Let them come and know the truth. We hear they are having meetings in Dubai, Mumbai. They keep on flying all over the place. Tell them the Kenyan public has said, we will not accept corruption to be the foundation of our development and our change in Africa. We want clean deals. We want good business. We don't care where the dealer comes from, but let us not engage in corruption in order for us to get favors and for us to be put in a position where we control resources in Africa. That we have refused. No Indian can do it. No Chinese can do it. No American can do it. Africans are now saying we want good governance and we want partners who want to make our country better.
Right. I really appreciate what you're saying, sir. Just, I wanted your, basically your take on the fact that some Indian politicians from the opposition have raised concerns that the protests against the Adani project in Kenya could lead to wider anger against India itself in Kenya, and sort of staining India's image in this region. Do you think these concerns are justified, or do you think the controversy will sort of remain localized to the airport deal and this particular business group?
I would like to say that I know very many Indian individuals, including some of my best friends in this country, who are straightforward. They do good business. I could go run through my friend who's called Sanjay, could call my friend who's called Raju. We have no problem with the Indian people. What we have a problem with, one of the biggest scandals that was in this country, which was called the Golden Bag scandal. It was conducted by an Indian individual who was called, I try to remember his name. That gentleman basically made sure that Kenya lost enough money from that transaction. It was a gold scam where the government was forced to pass a law so that we could not tax gold deposits and gold sales But once you export the gold, then you receive government subsidy, which compensates you for having done a wonderful thing for selling the gold. It was a stupid scam. Kenya lost a lot of money. What we are saying is we want Indian companies to come to Kenya, do straightforward business, let them compete and let them participate in procurement tendering in the Republic, and then let them get the job. Nobody will ask them anything. But if you have an Indian company which has been shortlisted without other competitors being there, where these Indian companies opaque. They are not explaining where the workers who are working at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport are going to get their jobs. The company is not explaining to us what terms and conditions they have negotiated this agreement. They had better know. And you can mention to the people of Adani, they will not come and do any business in this republic. Yesterday, there were demonstrations at the airport. Yesterday, there were individuals who stopped all the flights coming to Nairobi for 2 days in a row. It will continue until Adani walks out of Nairobi. So tell them to be careful what they do. Everything we want in this republic of ours, even when we are a poor country, even when we are struggling with our challenges, we do not want to have a country that is going to continue where corruption is the foundation of our growth and development, because corruption benefits just a few individuals and you have the whole republic of 48 million having nothing to eat.
Right. I mean, I really appreciate you for sharing that sentiment, sir. One question I wanted to ask you about the Kenyan court, which has suspended further movement on this takeover proposal 11. Can you tell us a little bit about the nature of the petition that's been filed and what is going to be the next steps as far as the judicial process of this deal is concerned?
Essentially, it is a normal due process where in Kenya, once you have a matter, you take it to the court. I think the court saw this as a public interest matter. It has taken the matter to the court. The court has pronounced itself. It has asked all the individuals, the parties involved, to get up and put themselves, go to court and present the evidence and information whether the law has been followed properly or not. Actually, the court is our last line of defense. So what we have done now is we are allowing the court to proceed. The matter has been brought to the Senate. If you know somebody in Kenya, or you can get somebody who can do for you video recordings, you can see that at the Senate tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock. That is when we start the hearings. And what the court has pronounced itself is that the government must stop any forthwith engagement with any contractual agreements or the signing of any MOUs with anybody pertaining to the matter involving the airports and the Kenya Airports Authority in the Republic of Kenya. Anybody who signs any agreement, that's what I'm saying. These people are coming to India. They're wasting your money and time. The court has already pronounced itself. So tell them to stay in Kenya until the court can pronounce whether the agreement Adani is getting with the people in government or with the ruling government. Of course, I forgot to tell you that I'm a member of the opposition. I stick with my position, and my position is very simple. We don't want our country to sell itself cheap when we know that we have got enough value to get what is good for the public.
Right. One last question before I let you go, sir. Thank you so much for your time. One last question. So, you've flagged many concerns with this deal, least of all not being, allegations of corruption, not following due process, etc. So, but the airport itself, you would not deny, requires expansion. The airport requires renovation. So, what kind of an alternative would you suggest for this process? Would you be okay with even the Adanis doing it, provided, let's say, they are part of a competitive bidding process with 3 other companies and then they come out on top? Then you wouldn't have a problem with the Adani group winning that project and going ahead with that. Would that be an accurate characterization?
My brother, let me tell you, thank you for raising that question, because I've seen some people ask me that question and I laugh at it. Nobody has ever disputed and disagreed that we need a new airport. Are we together?
Yes.
Nobody has said we don't want a company from India to come and do work or have an airport in Kenya and do an excellent job. I mean, I can tell you the franchise company in Kenya is called Tata Holdings. It's a company that has been held by a gentleman we all know who passed on. He was called Merali. You have so many big Indian companies in Kenya, and they do straightforward business. What we are demanding, my brother, and I want you to tell the wonderful people of India, let us follow the law. We want to do due diligence. We want to get a win-win scenario. The feeling we have got right now, whatever that is being discussed between the Kenyan government and Adani is something that is going to give Adani 70% and the Kenyan government is going to keep 30%. We are saying it must be either 50-50 or it must be 30-60 where Kenya is the beneficiary. And that is the agreement we want. We don't want anybody to say, oh, they are saying Kenya is in debt. Yes, Kenya is in debt. Why are we in debt? Because of the corruption that has been in this country. That is why we have increased our debts by 15 billion, 20 billion US dollars. Why? Because of crooked, corrupt deals which were done within the last 12 or 15 years of this government's existence. And that is the cause of the mess we are in. So many of us as leaders, we are saying we will stop any corrupt arrangement that is going to take place in this country, whether it is through hook, whether it is through crook, whether it is demonstration, civil society within the law. We are not going to have violence. We are not going to start making noise and burning things. No. We are going to demonstrate like Mahatma Gandhi. We are going to demonstrate like Martin Luther King until the deal is stopped.
Thank you so much, Senator Onyonka. Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure listening to you and learning from your observation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Say hi to all the people of India. I've been to Mumbai. I've been to Calcutta. I used to be a deputy minister for foreign affairs. So I know quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
In Focus will be back soon with analysis of the biggest news issues. In the meantime, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and other platforms. Just search for In Focus by The Hindu. We'll see you soon.